Hello and welcome. I would like to acknowledge and thank you for your interest in participating and engaging in these modules. Um, we will be working and talking about recognizing and cultivating talent potential in Latino and English learners. Um, these will be actionable strategies for K-12 educational specialists and educators. Throughout these modules, I will be introducing and sharing information that has been effective for my district that I work at, just north of you in Wisconsin. And in fact, strategies and approaches and frameworks that have worked across many districts in the United States. And I will share some of those examples with you throughout these modules. But first, I would like to introduce myself. I am Dr. Marta Araceli Lopez, and just a little bit about myself and my career. I currently have about 15 years in gifted education. I started out as a bilingual educator, teaching mainly elementary. And now the past 8 years, I have been AGT instructional coach for Milwaukee Public Schools. I really enjoy my position. I get a chance to work and train and be a thought partner with our educators in elementary and middle school, and working to provide services for our students, particularly our underrepresented students that are culturally and linguistically diverse and economically disadvantaged. So this is the population that I get to work with here in Milwaukee, and I find it a privilege to be able to do this work alongside our teachers. But not only have I worked with teachers in my city, but throughout my state in Wisconsin, and I've spoken and done workshops and seminars and conferences nationally and internationally. I've had the opportunity to work with schools and educators and administrators in Mexico in a magnet gifted school there in Mexico City, and also with an international school in Phnom Penh, Cambodia. And so to be able to do this work with and reach multiple educators across different parts of the world is just really exciting. And I just feel very fortunate to be able to share what I know and what I have learned throughout these years with others. In addition to that, I'm also a board of director for the Wisconsin Association for Talented and Gifted. I've been a board member maybe 6 years now, and so I'm very excited to do that work and create opportunities for students across my state and impact, how gifted education is done here in the states. So, very exciting work that I get to do voluntarily with other educators and specialists across my state. In addition to that, I am also the founder and co-chair of the National Association for Gifted Children, Rompiendo Barreras, breaking down barriers for gifted Hispanic and Latino youth. It's a special interest group. So if you are part of an AGC, I'd love to have you join us. Um, I've been doing this work maybe 2 years already, so we're pretty new, but we are comprised of a couple scholars and administrators and coordinators and educators and doctoral students and the families, parents that are very dedicated and passionate about this population and increasing identification and services, advocacy, and more research regarding this population. So a lot of great opportunities and services that we get to do for for our students. my my educational background, I have a PhD in educational psychology. Um, I specialized in cognitive and developmental sciences from the University of Wisconsin-Milwaukee. And throughout my 5 years in the doctoral program, I got the chance to write my dissertation on Latinos raising academically gifted middle schoolers and their parental academic socialization and their consejos. In other words, advice giving. It's a lot of background that I have in this community, but I also wanted to not just share all my achievements and all these things that I get exciting things I get to do, but I also want to share with you my story. Um, I guess you could say I am one of those students that you have in your classrooms, in your schools, in your districts, um, and I I'm a Mexican American. My parents are both immigrants from the northern state of Coahuila, Mexico. I grew up in a household, middle class household, and went to public school in Madison, Wisconsin, and grew up, within the system that was predominantly white. And um, I had a third grade teacher that, because I was bilingual and I code switched back and forth a lot in my writing, in my speaking, and um, referred me to special education services, and I was part of a pullout group and missed a lot of tier one instruction and did a lot of remediation work. And so that set a trajectory for me uh, to when I went to high school, I was very, very behind um, my peers. And so I was taking remedial uh, coursework starting as a freshman. And so I was pretty much set in a path where I was not going to succeed because of that referral. But it wasn't until I met my ninth, 10th grade history teacher, Mr. Grau. I'll never forget him. He's from LA. And so he worked with a lot of um, Latino youth out in LA. And so he and I had a bond because he really understood me and my culture. He spoke Spanish, so he was bilingual and probably the first bilingual teacher I ever had. And so I really felt a connection with him and all the other Latino youth that were in my high school. We were 30 in a mix of about 900 kids. So we were we were a few. This was back in the early 90s, mid 90s, and so he was very instrumental in our lives, and he noticed leadership potential in me. And so he mentioned that he wanted to start a Latino Student Association club at our high school. And he asked if I would help lead that. And I was shocked that he asked me because my teachers in the past never, um, you know, um, asked if I could help and assist in anything. And so, of course, I jumped at the opportunity. I don't know what he saw, but he saw something and noticed potential. And so that opportunity really opened up a lot of doors for me. By then, I was probably a 1.7, 2.0 student GPA as a sophomore. And so I started this work and we did a lot of activity planning, and I started recruiting, the other students and other allies that were in our high school that wanted to be part of the LSA group and club. And we planned and events, and we had fundraisers, and it's just really motivated and excited me to go to school and participate in this. But it, my attitude changed, my mindset changed, and my grades started to go up. Um, my grades went up so much that I was accelerated, and finally, after a year, I was able to catch up with my peers, and finally overcome, all these obstacles that I was given earlier on in my educational journey. And um, I was on the track of graduating early. And so I met with my guidance counselor early, um, senior year, and her response to my request of meeting with her, because I wanted to graduate early and I wanted to apply to college. I wanted to go to UW-Madison, which is where all my other peers were going or applying to. And Mrs. Rude, my guidance counselor, told me that this was not for me. She literally said to me, "No, honey, you're not college material. Kids like you just go straight to the workforce, and I would be more than happy to write a letter of recommendation for you and help you find jobs right after high school." So that, yeah, broke my heart because I wanted to go to college. And so I believed her. And so I ended up going to work, led me to believe that there are adults that work in our districts that should work to be better and do better for our kids. And so um, it wasn't until later that I had a colleague, a boss, a supervisor that said, I think you would be really great in doing social work and psychology work and things like that. So that's how I ended up trying again. And here we are. So that said, um, that's who I am and why I care so much about this work. But I guess I would like to just a module overview and learning objectives of what we're going to be learning. And so I want to welcome you to this professional development that's designed for specialists and educators that are committed to transforming gifted education practices to better serve our Latino and English learner population. So this presentation addresses the critical need to recognize, nurture, and develop the exceptional talents that exist within traditionally underrepresented student populations. And so together we're going to explore evidence-based approaches that honor cultural diversity while dismantling systemic barriers that have historically limited access to advanced educational opportunities. And so my hope is that by implementing these strategies outlined in these modules, that you'll be equipped to create more equitable learning environments where all of our students can thrive academically and develop their unique gifts and their at their fullest potential. And so I just want to briefly overview and show you the structure of each of the modules. Um, for Module 1, titled Understanding the Barriers and the Opportunities in Recognizing Talent in Latino and English Learners. This module is about an hour and a half long. The key topics that we're going to be talking about is an overview of current demographic and linguistic and cultural diversity in our schools. We're going to talk about systematic and cognitive mindset barriers to recognizing ELs, English learners, and Latino talent, and debunking myths about giftedness in Latino and English learners. And finally, some research insights in equity and opportunity gaps. So part of the activities that I want to engage in is a couple of readings that are related to this topic, and also do a data dive into either your district, your school, or your state. So it's work on excellence gaps, and you're going to get a chance to really see where identified population is in comparison to the general population, and see if those gaps exist, and what we can do to improve that. And some discussion prompts for you to have with your team. And at the bottom, you'll see the NHEC standards that go along with the module. So Module 1 is on the barriers and opportunities. Module 2 is strategies for identification and early recognition of talent potential. And so this module is about 2 hours long. And the topics that we're going to discuss in Module 2 are strengths-based practices and cultural linguistic responsiveness and identification, classroom-based assessments and alternative portfolios, language development versus cognitive ability and the distinctions for identification, and scaffolding for talent development before you formally identify students, and then tiered supports for recognizing talents. Also, you're going to read an article that is related with this topic and review your current district or selected district current identification guidelines, screening or observation protocols that are used for your classroom or school. And I have linked a copy of the Milwaukee Public School Gifted Identification Guidelines and Gifted Services document that was recently approved, that I had the opportunity to improve in our district very recently. And so that's very exciting for us to finally be able to share that with the public. And a mini rubric for evaluating equitable identification criteria for your school year district, and then some discussion prompts and NAGC standards that align with this module. And we also have Module 3 that is going to be emphasizing on creating an inclusive, responsive, advanced learning environments. This is the nitty-gritty of the modules. So this is really getting down to how do we meet the needs and how do we provide services to students. So we will be talking about culturally sustaining pedagogy and advanced learning, and curriculum adaptation for linguistic access and challenge, and supporting retention and academic identity development, and the MTSS-aligned enrichment models in heterogeneous classrooms, and tiered curriculum adaptations and services design considerations for students that need extra challenge and enrichment. And so part of the activities include coming up with an example of an enrichment cluster or independent study pathway for your diverse learners. So I came up with some examples for you for an elementary, middle, and high school. So you can take a look at those, and you can take a lesson that is from a grade level, and you can adjust. And how would you provide enrichments and scaffolds for these grade bands? And then you will complete a tiered lesson adaptation. And then some discussion prompts that you can have with your team, and also a reading that goes along with this module. And the reading I selected was a paper that we got published, Milwaukee Makes a Difference. And so what we did in our district to recognize gifted students that are culturally and linguistically diverse, but what we did with them, and inquiry-based learning and STEM education and things like that, to provide services. And I also linked our MTSS for advanced learners that was also recently approved, and I'm excited to share with you some ideas of how we do things here in Tier 1, Tier 2, and Tier 3 for advanced learners that might be a good resource for you as you take a look at how you can improve yours. So finally, we have our module wrap up. And so this is basically a time, 30 to 45 minutes for you to do some implementation planning and reflection. What did you learn from module 1, 2, and 3 that you can use in your own settings and come up with an action plan and take a look at what your district resources are, do an asset inventory. What do you already have that's working very well? And ongoing learning and collaboration structures that you can have in place. And time for you to reflect and see where you are in your district, in your team, and then maybe draft some next steps in a planning template that I designed for you, where you can jot down some ideas together and how you can embed some of these strategies and approaches to your work. And then finally, a discussion prompt that you can have as a closing. And so I guess I want to leave you with this. Professional development is about building capacity for equity. It seems more and more professional development is changing the way teachers, especially our new teachers, um, teach our students. And so sustained professional learning is essential for creating and maintaining equitable gifted identification systems, education systems. One-time workshops, they really produce lasting change. Instead, schools should implement comprehensive learning plans that build knowledge, skills, and reflective practices over time. And so here are three things that we can walk away with. It's building that cultural competence development and increasing the instructional skill building that our teachers use in their classrooms, and collaborative inquiry where educators are coming together during PLCs or professional learning communities that where there's a focus on equity and gifted education, and do book studies, lesson studies, peer observations, doing more collaborative data analysis, and things like that. So I hope that all of this information really you find helpful and useful in your context, and be able to thrive for the sake of our students. And um, a real world example is Montgomery County Public Schools in Maryland. They developed professional learning modules with this kind of emphasis. And it was a multi-year professional development sequence that they created called Recognizing and Nurturing Advanced Potential in Culturally Diverse Students, Learners. And they noticed that teachers that completed the program demonstrated measurable changes in referral patterns and instructional practices, which led to increased identification and success rates for their underrepresented students. So, professional development is crucial, it's critical, it's important that we deliver high quality, engaging professional development. So I hope that through these modules, you walk away with something exciting and new that you would like to try. So I want to thank you once again for your commitment to excellence, and I hope that you find this work as valuable as I do. Thank you.